I'm waiting for my producer to give me a sign. And we're still waiting for some people to join. We're getting messages. There are a few people who are going to join us on Instagram, and we are going to be live on various platforms today. And I think we are live and we should get started. Hello everyone, I am Manas Srivastava and you are watching UPSC Essentials live of the Indian Express, and we are joining you and you are joining us through the platforms like Instagram, YouTube and Facebook. And first of all, I'm very thankful to the Indian Express to give us this opportunity to interact with you. रूबरू होने की बहुत ज़रूरत है कहीं कहीं, और I'm also thankful to my producer and the entire video team who is helping me with this connection with you. तो एक बहुत आसान सवाल पूछूं, ये न्यूज़पेपर से नोट्स कैसे बनाते हैं? या एक और आसान सवाल पूछूं कि न्यूज़पेपर को आसानी से पढ़ते कैसे हैं? या एक और आसान सवाल पूछूं कि न्यूज़पेपर की न्यूज़ को किस तरह रिटेन करते हैं दिमाग में? ये सवाल जो है, जो थोड़ा ड्रामेटिक वे से मैंने आपसे पूछा है, द ड्रामेटिक वे ऑफ आस्किंग दिस क्वेश्चन has occurred to my mind and have been asked to me in my student career, as a student, as a teacher, and now in the media house, dealing with the UPSC related issues and on a daily basis. So, these questions are very common. And these are the questions जिससे आपको बिल्कुल भी शर्म नहीं आनी चाहिए. You should not be ashamed of these questions. These are important questions when you are preparing for competitive examination. बहुत लोग बहुत टेक्निक्स बताएंगे और बहुत कारगर टेक्निक्स बताएंगे. They'll tell you some successful mantras, success mantras to decode a news, to decode a newspaper, to understand a particular news, to make notes of those particular news items. पर मैंने कुछ अलग सोचा. अलग केवल सोच है. जो टेक्निक मैं आपको बताने जा रहा हूं या जो मैं आपसे बात करने जा रहा हूं, the technique which I'm going to talk about today is a very set technique. It's an old technique, but a lot of people don't apply it even now. That technique was also referred to in the last life. लेकिन वो छोटे मोटे तरीके से हमने बस refer किया था. But after a lot of queries and question on that particular query, particular technique, particular tool, we decided that हम क्यों ना इस live का theme, we make this the theme of this live on that particular tool or technique. And that technique is 5 W's and 1 H. तो कई बार जब लोग मुझसे पूछते हैं कि कैसे सरल बनाया जाए, तो मैं अक्सर अपने शेरो शायरी के अंदाज में बोलता हूं कि झुक सकता है आसमां गर तबीयत से उछाले पत्थर कोई. And that effort here is this special technique, which is 5W and 1H. अब ये जो इंट्रोडक्शन है, ताकि आप बंधे रहें, so that you remain with me, उसको थोड़ा सा साइड करते हैं and let's come to a very logical point. So there are various ways to understand a particular write-up or a news or an article. Now, one way is also to know how a particular article, news, editorial are written. What I mean to say, when you know how a particular thing is written, it becomes very, it becomes very easy to understand how it should be read and how it should be retained. So today what I'm going to talk to you about is how a particular news item is written. Nowadays, when I'm working in a media house, I'm working in a newsroom with a lot of journalists, a lot of writers, some of the celebrated writers in the Indian Express, I am getting to read how they write. And today we are going to understand how to read the things which they have written. तो सीधे मुद्दे पे आते हैं और हम बात करते हैं 5W1H की. सबसे पहले ये समझ लेते हैं कि why is this technique important? This is a age-old problem-solving technique. ये जो टेक्निक है, this technique 5W and 1H is a problem-solving technique. Now, for example, your problem is that how a particular news item should be read. Your problem is how should we make notes out of it. Your problem is how to reproduce it in your exam. Okay, your problem is how to retain and revise. Similarly, एक जर्नलिस्ट, एक रिपोर्टर, इनके सामने भी एक सवाल होता है. How to report a particular news, how to write a particular article, or the basics of it. While I was talking to a lot of friends of mine who are journalists, I tried to find out this. And then they told me that, Manas, whenever we pitch up a story, we try to, think from the framework of 5W and 1H. For example, if there is some crime which has happened in your area, the reporter is going to think from the perspective of 5Ws. For example, why that crime happened, when that crime happened, what is that crime, who did that crime, okay, and finally, how that crime happened. And then a particular story is written. Similarly, when you are reading a news, try to identify these 5Ws and 1H. अब ये 5Ws and 1H है क्या? सबसे पहले, the first thing is what. The second thing is when. The third thing is where. The fourth thing is who. And then you have why. And finally you have how. ठीक है? तो 5W जल्दी से फिर से repeat कर देना. I'm repeating it. What, when, where, who, why. These are 5Ws. And then you have 1H. 1H is how. Okay. Now let's understand it from a perspective of an example also, and how you can structure your news item, or when you're reading a newspaper, how should you look into the news on the basis of 5Ws and 1H. And here I would also like to tell you that you can also make notes of your current affairs on this basis. I will also tell you some caveats that, there are certain things which you should remember. These all 5Ws, 1H will not apply everywhere, but these are certain basics. So for example, let us start with what. First W, what. What means, for example, what is the news, or what are the basic components of that topic. When I say basic components, I'm talking about constituents. For example, this can be a definition, it can be descriptions, it can be examples. Now, for our convenience, let's take the topic of global warming. Okay, so global warming is a very general topic which you all study, or climate change. So what the basic question in a particular topic or in a particular news item will be, what is global warming? So this is W, where you have what is the news, or what is the basic component of that particular news. Okay, so for example, the definition. So what is global warming? That is your first W. Then when. So by when I mean time framework. Okay, but remember, every time a news article around when will not start with a when. All right, so it may be a frequency of an event, or it may be duration, or occurrence, or reoccurrence. So it is not necessary that every time when will be in your topic, but it is related to time framework. So when does it happen? When it happened. Now, when I'm saying when it happened, तो कुछ न्यूज में आपको ये भी ध्यान में रखना है. You have to also remember that what was before that event, what is now, like what is the current part of that event, and what will be the future of the event. So time frame in the sense of the not only the present but past and future. So everything around time. It is not necessary कि when is included. अब हम एक एग्जांपल लेते हैं अगेन ग्लोबल वार्मिंग. फॉर एग्जांपल ग्लोबल वार्मिंग में when did global warming start, or the idea of global warming start or occurred, or how frequent is that kind of an event. or what, how or when did a big event related to global warming happen in the recent past, something which was in news. Now you see, every time when is not coming, but har baar jo hai, time is important. All right. Then you see, this is what and when. So what we have understand what is global warming. So what is the news in particular? What is the definition in particular? Then when did, the first idea of global warming came up? Now let's come to where. Now it's very simple. By where we means location, we mean reference, we mean place, country, boundaries, etc., etc. So when is definitely a location of it. But also, when we are talking about, I'm talking about where. So when we are talking about where, environment of it, so everything where is the location part. बहुत आसान तरीके से एक बात और मैं बता दूं, वेयर का मतलब ये भी हो जाएगा कि वेयर इन द सिलेबस, वो टॉपिक वेयर इज इट इन योर सिलेबस. Alright, or maybe where is it located among different connected topics. ठीक है. So for example, अगर हम global warming की बात करें, so is global warming actually global? Or is climate change something very global? Or which are the areas where climate change का effect ज़्यादा दिखता है, कम दिखता है? Is there something like that? Or we can say that, is global warming happening only in particular countries, developed countries or developing countries? So all these kinds of questions. You're getting? And of course, where is it located in your syllabus? Where is it in the larger graph of environment and climate change? What is getting affected? Alright, तो ये where का component हो गया. तो आपके पास what का component है, when का component है, where का component है. अब बात करते हैं who. WHO. ओके, तो who की जब हम बात करते हैं, तो फॉर एग्जांपल who आर द स्टेक होल्डर्स. ऑलराइट, कौन कौन सी ऐसी एजेंसीज हैं जो इन्वॉल्व है, कौन सी फॉर एग्जांपल मिनिस्ट्री इन्वॉल्व है. ठीक है, हु आर द पार्टीज, हु आर द एजेंसीज, हु आर द पर्सनालिटीज. ओके, सो ऑल दीज थिंग्स, नेम्स, स्टेक होल्डर्स, people who are involved, who are getting affected, and who are affecting, who are getting affected, who are taking decisions, who are making policies, who are the agencies. So ये who जो है वो important हो जाता है. So for example, who are the people who are getting affected by global warming? All right, so you identify the people, you identify the organizations, all these things you have to identify. तो हमने क्या क्या पढ़ लिया? अभी हमने what, when, where, who और पढ़ लिया है. And let's understand now why. This is the fifth important W. Fifth important W, this is why. Why का ना, why has a deeper connotation. You go deeper, you understand the rationale, you understand the reasons, the causes, the justification. Why part. A lot of time why part you will see in this, for example, in the editorial section, isn't it? Where they discuss and analyze. So for example, why is global warming actually happening? So you see the why component. So, and what should be done, or why should we worry about climate change? Why at all we should worry about climate change? Okay, so these are the 4W, 5Ws, and now let's come to 1H. How? Okay, so how it has happened, how this event has occurred. Okay, now when we are saying how, we are also talking about the factors. What are the factors involved? So there is W, but it is larger framework in how these things happen, how this global warming occurs. So what are the factors, processes involved, circumstances involved, how technology is used? Okay, what are the how problem is solved and how problem occurs? So all these things. How has, for example, when we talk about global warming, how humans are causing global warming, or simply how has international efforts affected global warming. Okay, maybe they ask you the future prospect. So how can it be further prevented? ठीक है, तो मैंने क्या किया? What did I do here? I took up a topic of global warming and I dissected it in 5 Ws and through 5 Ws and 1H approach. So what is global warming? When did global warming first, came in the news? Okay, or how frequent that event occurs? Everything comes under when. Then where is it, like, is global warming related to developed or developing countries? That is where. Who all are being affected? Who are the stakeholders? Who are the parties? Okay, so all these things come in. Who, why is global warming happening, or why should we worry about climate change? This is why. And then we come to how approach, how humans are causing global warming, for example. Okay, or how international efforts are taking place. So these are broader frameworks of 5 Ws, 1H. Again, I'll just quickly repeat: where, what, when, where, who, why, and how. Now, there are certain caveats. When you are reading a news, it's not necessary that every aspect is there. Sometimes the demand of the news or some demand of the article is not such. Also, in your exam, you might not be asked all these things together. Okay, so, but what is the relevance then? The relevance is that when you study from this framework, you're able to pull out the right answer in your examination. For example, when the question asks why of a particular topic, you don't need to ponder so much upon when and where and who. So you know the answer because you have kind of, compartmentalize that particular topic on those bases. All right. Now, this is a structural approach. For a lot of you, जिनको जो struggle करते हैं to read a newspaper, it takes 4 hours to read a newspaper and then to make notes. It's important to go in the mind of a person who has written that article. And this is a basic approach in which any article would be written. So it would be easier for you to pluck those points, okay, and to retain, and you would be able to make a mind map in your mind. So this is how you would be able to do it. You would be able to retain it better and longer. All right. So if you have these things in your mind, these issues will remain in control of your senses. Okay, you'll be able to produce it better. So this tool will help you to understand issue in totality, in a wholesome manner, gives you a direction to how to pull out a particular news from a particular answer to a question from that particular news item. Now, before going to a real-time this question, let's go to today's newspaper. Okay, so if we go to today's newspaper, let's see the news on your front page. And I'll take a very small example so that we save time and take up your questions also if you have any. And we already have previous questions, so we will do that. Now, for example, this whole topic on, say, for example, the Prime Minister, our Honorable Prime Minister heads to Paris. This is in your front page, one of the small articles which I am probably going to take. Now, if you closely analyze this article, it's a very small article. It is also continued on page number 2. So let us apply this 5 Ws and 1H approach here. So अगर हम 5 W की बात करें तो पहला W है what. तो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट तो हो जाता है what is this news about. जो आपको पहले पैराग्राफ में इसके बारे में मिल जाएगा, और even in the headline that the Honorable Prime Minister is heading towards Paris, heading to Paris, and then what is the highlight of this particular visit. So you will get, if you have a newspaper in front of you, you would see in the first paragraph, it tells about what is the highlight. So the highlight are 2 highlights basically mentioned. One is the vision document, and then there are certain, apart from the vision document, there are certain ambitious partnership or strategic projects which they are planning to do, which is on defense, space, geostationary, infrastructure, so on and so forth. तो आपका पहला तो ये है. Then when you say where, Okay, so when you talk about where, then definitely there is the place is France, but also you see there's a mention of an important museum here. Okay, so location wise it's important. Sometimes they ask you geography based question, isn't it? So where is the location? Then when it talks about when, now when you talk about when, you would see that there is this Bastille Day parade which is highlighted here. So when you talk about this particular event, you should know why this is important, why is it in news. Probably you will find it in the explain section also. Okay, and then you come to why. So why is this news important? Okay, why is this news important? In that particular news item, they mention it is both symbolically important and substance wise important. So symbolically it is important because it coincides with the 25th anniversary of the Indian France strategic partnership. So ये तो तुम्हारा हो गया why is it important, and why is it important in symbolism. In substance it is important because the vision document which will come up, or vision statement which will come up, it will define the relationship for the next 25 years, which will also coincide with India's 100 years of independence since 2047. So that is why this visit is important. Okay, now let's take up certain questions which are coming live.
So there's one question: should we read current affairs only 1 year before giving the exams?
No, so I'll tell you something very relevant here. With the difficulty of question paper, what we have analyzed, and especially when we read a lot of Indian Express, we've been reading and looking at the pattern of the examination. At least 1.5 years का थोड़ा आपको knowledge होना चाहिए, especially when the news is continuing for a longer period of time. Okay, for a longer period of time, if a news is continuing, you should have that, that whole span should be covered. But the thing is that sometimes you'll not be able to cover so much because of the paucity of time. So एक mantra ये है कि you should know something of everything and everything of something, especially those items which have been continued for a longer period of time. So keep that in mind. 1.5 years जो सबका सही है वो आपका गलत नहीं होना चाहिए. That is the key takeaway.
There's one more question: is only editorial section enough for UPSC, and Hindu plus Indian Express, is it enough?
No, so only first of all, let's take the first part. Editorial is not just enough. Editorial, as you see the 5 W's and 1H approach, mostly will talk about why, or they will critically analyze. But when you will read the front page, you will understand what is the news about. You will get also facts from the front page. If you're reading the Indian Express, you should read the explained section, isn't it? So in the explained section, all dimensions are covered. But when you want to form an opinion about a view about something, then you have to read an editorial. Maybe we can have another session on editorials readings. That also, there is also a technique to read editorials, which I would, if you want it, please raise your hand or give comments that you want an editorial technique of reading. Do let us know. We'll come up with that video also.
One more question: how important is city news?
City news is majorly not very important. Majorly not very important because you have to understand one thing. There are major, some zones in the country where the city news comes. Okay, so jo Delhi ka city news hai, it's not necessary that it will be published somewhere in the south also. Okay, so from that logic, city news is not very important. City news jo issue aapka hai, for example, if it's a Delhi edition, okay, so Delhi edition hai to Delhi ka city page hai. If it's of some other city, it's there's other city page. So logically it is not important, but sometimes a major thing, suppose there's a picture, which a prominent picture, you should have a look at it. Maybe it develops into a larger news which comes on the front page or editorial or explain. So just have a look, but don't pay a lot of attention.
One more question: can we skip monthly magazine of reputed coaching institutions?
So that is up to you. A lot of people do not take monthly magazines. First, you should understand what is the idea of a newspaper and idea of a monthly magazine. Idea of a monthly magazine is basically a compilation which will help you in revision and which will help you to cover all the topics. Idea of a newspaper is to develop a habit to understand the continuity of a news, how a news particularly develops. It not only helps you in current affairs, it helps you in writing answers, it helps you in, understanding the opinion, views, comments. Okay, so newspaper is not just a document for current affairs, please. For UPSC aspirants, it's a document for essay writing practice, it's a document for a lot of other things.
There's a follow-up question also that which one is the better one to cover current affairs, newspaper or the monthly or yearly
What
magazine?
I would say that newspaper is a daily document. This should be in your practice. Newspaper तो आपको छोड़ना ही नहीं है. So my advice would be you can take a combination, but newspaper cannot be compromised at all, because as I told you, it helps in you when you read a compilation. You should have a background, isn't it? That background helps. Newspaper helps in that background. So don't leave newspaper reading. Also, there are certain online initiatives which you can look for. Okay, now so these are certain questions. Now let us come to a few questions. I think 5W and 1H is over. Now let's come to certain important questions which you have raised earlier. So one question is related to UPSC Key. Okay, the UPSC Key is Monday to Friday exclusive premium content written by Priya of the Indian Express, and she has sent a message for you. So a lot of people ask about the UPSC Key, how to read it, and how many articles to read, so and how to these questions which she gives, how to handle them. So she has a message. So the message is that UPSC Key has following components: headline, syllabus, point to ponder, and other related articles. So first you read the main article and other articles to read. All right, so you have to read newspaper ka koi matlab there is no side something which is the UPSC Key is complementary to newspaper. So newspaper you have to read. Then see all questions. You will notice that maximum answers you will find in the article itself. So you see the question in the UPSC Key and find it in your you'll find the answers in the article itself, which is in the newspaper. In case you don't find an answer, leave those questions and don't start searching for those answers. So sometimes people think, oh my God, these many questions, I'm not able to find answers. Pause there. Do not panic, because she says this because often the news gets repeated and you will find these answers in other days. So you don't need to find the answer there itself. If you have time, you can Google it. Otherwise, you can leave it. So even if you have doubts, you can ask the questions directly through your Gmail, email her, email us, or through Telegram. Now, if we have some prominent online questions, we can move to the questions which have already come to us. Now, here is something which have been asked a number of times, and that is essay initiative. Please send some love to us if you want to ask the question on essay. Now, we are planning to start a little small initiative on essay writing. Okay, so how many of you really want it? Please give a thumbs up. If you want it, if you really want essay writing, you can give a thumbs up. We're planning to start it very soon. Just keep reading UPSC Essentials, and you'll find an article on essay writing which will help you or will add value to your preparation. I'm not saying that it's going to be one stop destination, but definitely help you as other articles are doing. So if you want essay writing, and which is in the pipeline, do message us, do mail us, do let us know. Now, what about the subscription portion? Okay, what is about the subscription thing? Subscription, I would like to say that we have an offer for UPSC aspirant, which is around 60% discount. What you have to do is you have to go to UPSC section in the web, the Indian Express web page, Indian Express home page, and you will get the offer there, UPSC special offers for UPSC aspirants, and you'll get a lot of benefits in that. So just go through it. All right. Now we have one more question.
So somebody said that they follow UPSC Key Essential Premium content. Even after following them, do we still need Current Affairs magazine?
Now that's up to you. If you're reading the newspaper and you are also following UPSC Key and UPSC Essentials, I don't think you have so much time to do more on current affairs. always advisable when the exam is approaching, just pick up any magazine and see what all is there. But I think we are also, we are also diversifying a lot through a lot of initiatives, so you can look through that. So I have answered about subscription. If you have still queries, please mail me. I'll answer all your queries. Essays there, our new initiatives, 360-degree debate. So please see it. We're taking some important topics which are happening, every week related to debate, giving 360 view, that is, the positive, the negative, the for the against, everything. So you can look into that. Now, coming to the areas which you find they are missing in the Indian Express newspaper. Now, I have always mentioned that newspaper के जो pages होते हैं वो limited होते हैं. Every news cannot be covered in this newspaper. But what is the solution? The solution is the online platform, indianexpress.com. You can go there, you can find all definite news which should be there for your preparation. Even if you're finding some trouble, I would always say, subscribe for UPSC Key, UPSC Essentials. We not only cover the news, but we also give value-added content. For example, Ethics Simplified and Weekly News Express, where we cover the prominent news, the key terms of the past week, and we from time to time we cover the case studies and other new initiatives. We have quizzes for you. So all those things, and especially the mains answer writing program for this main season. So all these things you will be able to cover. Okay, now before winding it up, if there is no prominent question, we can just wrap up this quickly. I have a small homework. Today, when you're reading this newspaper, try to read this article on GST Council, 28% tax on online gaming. Okay, we have Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's photograph in it. Try to read this. Then there's a related report on page 15. Try to read this report from the perspective of 5Ws 1H. It is not necessary कि सबके 5Ws 1H same हो. Okay, what you are thinking from the perspective of what, another can see it from the perspective of why. Okay, it depends. But the thing is कि आपका एक structure तैयार हो जाएगा. Also, try to apply it not only in the notes making, but also in your answer writing technique. And you will see a lot of, your structural areas can be covered through it. All right. So that's all from me. I am Manas Srivastava. Next time we are going to meet on next Wednesday. Probably let's take up a question on essay or anything you want. जितना जिसका ज़्यादा question आएगा, same question आएगा, we'll make that a theme. But I'll try to take up as many questions as possible. There are so many questions right now. We are not able to take so many questions. But I promise you, we would take up your genuine queries, genuine issues very soon. I hope you are following us through UPSC Key and UPSC Essentials. As I always say, think smart, work hard, conquer your goal. Good night.